What's up and welcome back. Arthur Morgan has got some news for us regarding Red Dead Online, aka Roger Clark, the actor behind Arthur Morgan's magnificent, just so manly voice. I'm Bandit Barney, bringing you everything you need to know about Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Online. So, Roger Clark, like I said, the voice behind Arthur Morgan. What a good voice. I wish I had that voice. My videos would get more views if I had Arthur Morgan's voice. Anyways, besides the point, he has an Instagram account where he'll sometimes go on there and do like Q&As and answer questions that fans send his way. So the other day, he was on there and the fans were asking him, you know, what's up? What are you up to? What's going on in your life? And he said that he was in the booth downstairs doing some work. In his exact words, downstairs in the booth doing some work, going to be doing some more later when the boys go to sleep. Roger Clark's doing some more voice acting! Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that we have a single player DLC in the works? Well, I don't know how much sense that would make, because spoiler alert, if you somehow haven't beaten the game yet, stop. Arthur dies. So how would he play into a single player DLC? That would be a big question there. Now there is, you know, like maybe you hear John or someone reminiscing and hearing different things that Arthur would have said to him. That could be one way, but to actually see his character come back to life in the single player wouldn't really make sense. And which would be like, we all want to see Arthur Morgan again. He's the character we all love. So we want to see him again, which is the way we would want to see him is in character, not in like some dream or something that John reminisces about. So the single player DLC possibility is up in the air. The channel that kind of posted this Instagram live video had a pinned comment asking, you know, what kind of single player DLC would you guys want to see? But nothing that Roger says points to there being a single player DLC. And in all fairness, he doesn't directly connect himself to, in the work that he's doing in the booth, to Rockstar. Now, they just finished Red Dead 2, and that kind of opens up the door to the online. What kind of work could Roger Clark be doing for online, if he is? Which is the amazing thing, because I don't want to see Arthur Morgan die, and we're getting an online update coming very, very soon. I have said in previous videos that it's most likely going to be story mode. The online is set before the story in single player. Arthur, are you coming to online story? Are you coming to the online story? So Roger didn't want to go full out and say this, but two things he talks about in this are that, like I said, he's doing some work in the booth. Hopefully, fingers crossed for Red Dead Online. And then towards the end of his Instagram live thing, at least from what I saw, he was asked, you know, how long have you been working on Red Dead 2? And his answer was that he'd been working on it for 5 years, but the studio had been working on it for 8. And they're still working on it now, online and whatnot. This is a direct quote from him. Still working on it now, online and whatnot. Got some announcements coming out at the end of the month. We know that Rockstar came forward and said to us, hey, February 26th is when our update's gonna drop. Sometime this week, we're expecting to see more information regarding that drop and what it's going to consist of. But we got Roger Clark coming in. He's doing booth work, and I don't know how popular his voice is, but from my understanding and knowledge, there's some voice actors who literally will, like, they have a plethora of voices, and they're so good at doing different voices that they'll jump from project to project to project. Animation studios will just have them come in and do episode after episode and then switch to the next show and do that and do that and do that, and they'll play different roles in all these different shows. For characters that have really iconic voices, very, very iconic voices, so let's say like a Samuel L. Jackson or something like that, when you do a character in an iconic voice like that, obviously Arthur Morgan's an iconic voice, you don't necessarily jump from project to project as much, because that voice is so, the image of that voice is so a part of that character that you can't really take that character into another world, because there's always that bridge of like, oh, this is Arthur Morgan. But this isn't Arthur Morgan, the person that I'm watching. And it makes a little bit less sense. I don't know if Roger Clark is this amazing, I mean, he's an amazing voice actor. I don't know if he has other amazing voices he does as well. If he's doing work for Arthur Morgan, then we can likely, and I say likely, see Arthur Morgan make an appearance in the online mode. I would absolutely love that if Arthur became a part of the online story. His character is probably the best character I've ever had in single player game, up there in the top of them at least. And to see him keep working on, if he is, this project and making more appearances in the online mode, oh, we're so blessed if that's the case. Because as soon as you miss it, as soon as his character's gone in the story, you just miss him immediately. The next day, I was playing the story after I finished the chapter where Arthur is dead, and I was like, why am I even playing Red Dead 2? Why? Arthur's gone. There's no soul in this game anymore. So hopefully, you know, we get that soul back. And I say that jokingly, but he was a huge portion of that game, the primary focus of it, and he did such a good job. So to see him working on something, and then, you know, in that same, it was like a 1.5-minute video. I'll link it so you guys can take a look at it. It'll be in the description down below. But to see him talk about that, and then also talk about, you know, some later announcements that Rockstar is going to make later this month, which is something that Rockstar themselves have said, so it's not like secret information or anything like that. But to see all that come together hopefully points to him being a part of the online mode. Now, in regards to the actual update that Rockstar is going to give us and how it plays in with this Roger Clark news, Arthur Morgan news, it's looking more and more like there's going to be a storyline addition sooner rather than later. At the same time, what does this mean for the online? The online had a story, and it was opening up to be like a good story, but it feels like you just barely scratched the surface of what could be there when you do play this story, because it ends so quickly. So it's something that I know for sure we're going to get more of this story. That's not any secret news or anything like that. But the story for the online isn't what adds that replayability. It definitely adds a significant pull to play it. When the storyline drops, the first thing that we're all gonna go do is finish the story in the online. We're gonna go play that. That's the first thing you do when you jumped into online for the first time, and it's the first thing you'll do when more gets added to it. But once you play that storyline, it's played, right? It's kind of like a single player game at that point, where you play it, and you can play it multiple times, but the playability there is not what creates a online game that has players coming back day in and day out over months. So when we're looking at, you know, where's Rockstar going to add that playability, that's going to be the daily challenges and daily activities and other stranger missions that they've added. Knowing that, I've mentioned before that in the past that the best thing to add that playability is allow players the ability to create in the game with Rockstar Editor. That's such a big thing to add to the game that who knows how long it will be until we get it. And definitely when the game's in beta, it'd be interesting to see if they'd add something that significant, that big. So although this news with Roger Clark doing more voice acting work and you know, kind of in regards to the Red Dead 2 community, it's very interesting and very exciting. I have to say, it's the most exciting thing that we've heard regarding Red Dead 2 in the last couple months, really. So super cool. But Rockstar in the background has got to know that, hey, there's the storyline that is really cool and adds to the depth of the game, and then there's the editor and things like that, different mini games and stuff like that of that such that are going to keep players playing the game over and over and over. And when I talked about in the past how it's going to take a little bit for Red Dead Online to get together, to get the game full-fledged, ready to go, and then at that point they'll start marketing things back out again. When you think about it, you wouldn't need much more than players knowing, hey, Arthur Morgan's coming to online. That would be enough to get players back into playing Red Dead Online. And then at that point, if you have these other things in place, you're gonna be ready to just enjoy the game, and you're not gonna need. That'll be enough advertising, is essentially what I'm saying, is bringing Arthur Morgan into the story of online. And it's possible, because online is set before Red Dead Redemption 2. So it's totally possible to see him make that showing, because he's not dead yet. That would be the advertisement, and then over here would be the, you know, hey, now that you're back on our game, here's the editor that's really fun. Here's mini games that are really fun. So the question being, is Arthur Morgan gonna make an appearance, come back to the game? And if he does, is that gonna be something that is maybe held off and kind of used to appeal to players to bring them back in? Because there's no doubt about it, anyone who played Red Dead 2, the single player story, Arthur Morgan is probably one of your favorite characters that you've ever experienced in gaming. The character, the voice acting was just done so well. And his battle between good and evil, and being faithful to the man that, you know, essentially raised him and his gang, and also being faithful to his morals and his virtue. And that fight was so spectacular. It just ingrains that character in your memory. And it would only take that character to then bring us back into online and be excited. Now, I know there's a lot of us that are still playing it and enjoying it, but the numbers are dwindling. The 26 comes out, we're gonna get a new update. They're gonna boost back up again. As far as attacking that core audience that became so in love with Red Dead 2 that maybe moved on to other games, all it takes is Arthur Morgan. That's all it takes. And it's a good sign that Roger Clark is doing some voice lines. That's gonna do it for today. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. If you have not subbed already to the channel, make sure to do so. And until the next time, we'll catch you later.